What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. After Sound here, bringing you Splinterlands, GLS, and Arcade Colony content today. We also stream right here on this channel every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday morning, so come by and say hello. Although I know my streaming schedule is a little crazy right now, I'm trying to stream actually as much as possible, so not necessarily even during those times, but when I can stick to those times, I most definitely will. Now, putting that aside, the reason that I included all of those games, right? So Splinterlands, Arcade Colony, and GLS, and I should say platforms, is because I want to talk about the Hive blockchain as a platform today and as a gaming platform potentially. Now, if you look back through my past videos, I've definitely talked about the issues that I have with Hive, where it's just so far down in the token ranking that I don't believe there is. Well, I shouldn't say this. Let me reframe it. I think that there's definitely hurdles that we need to jump through as a community to get people to jump in on Hive, right? Other chains, especially other L1s, are just way more appealing. And now with the other L2s coming out, right? Like Base, Arbitrum, Optimism, all these L2s for ETH, I think that's going to make it even more difficult because then people get to stay on these huge, really it's just Ethereum, on Ethereum by having, cheaper fees and faster, all that stuff. So either way, focusing back on Hive, I've definitely talked about this, and while I'm not saying I've done a complete 180, nor have I ever been like, Hive is never going to succeed. It's just I think Hive has a lot of issues, and there's a lot of roadblocks or hurdles that need to be jumped over. But recently, and I'm going to give a shout out to Aggie here because I think Aggie, Mooncarts, and just his general overall kind of like demeanor on what he's trying to put out there, especially on X and especially on Discord. I mean, Aggie's really changed things around for me when it comes to this. Because as I was saying earlier, right, and you've probably heard this on other videos as well, like Splinterlands is awesome. I love the game, right? And it is an OG in crypto gaming and Web3 gaming. But the changes last year kind of signaled to me that we weren't trying to go for crazy mass adoption, right? When Aggie was replaced and Matt was put in, granted, I'm not trying to take anything away from Matt. I'm just saying that the focus very much became on developing this specific game of Splinterlands rather than developing a full-on gaming platform that, Splinterlands would be with a bunch of games existing on Splinterlands. And so, that was shifted over to GLS. And, I don't even play the GLG game, although now I'm starting to think that maybe I should. But the whole point of this was like, okay, Splinterlands was starting to take a focus on itself. And in that way, it was never going to have that kind of mass adoption. It was never going to have that arcade style game. And I'm hoping maybe Tower Defense can still be that, right? But at the end of the day, it's going to be, Splinterlands is going to be what it's going to be. Now, with the recent launch of Mooncarts or Arcade Colony, and I guess it's not even launch yet, but just the preview and the ability to test the alpha, which we've done here on this channel, I look at that. I look at, Aggie's kind of like bullishness generally, and you can see even the rest of the market starting to pick up. Bitcoin's back over 47K. I'm looking at all this stuff and thinking to myself, okay, we already know that the onboarding here is actually quite good. The fact that you can come turn fiat and crypto directly into credits on Splinterlands, and I'm sure that's going to be the case for the Invenium platforms, both Arcade Colony and GLS. That's going to make it easy to onboard folks. What we need, though, is a killer app. And while, I love Splinterlands, and I'm not even saying that Mooncarts is going to be necessarily the killer app, but it's fun, it's easy, it's got mass appeal to it because it's a racing game that anybody can jump into, right? You can get 5-year-old who doesn't need to know anything about the whatever. You just give them the controls, they'll intuitively figure it out. You can't do that with Splinterlands. Splinterlands is a complicated, complex game, which again, I love, but it's just not made for the masses. Now, here's the thing. With the Invenium platforms, both GLS and Arcade Colony, I'm sure many people have not great things to say about GLG, and sure, it hasn't quite reached up to the expectations that I think many of us were hoping for. I'm looking at the success, or hopefully the potential success, of something like Arcade Colony and specifically Mooncarts, as if this does go through and people get excited, and it's just a matter of bringing other cool games into the mix, both sports games and then literally any other type of game. That could be fantastic for the rest of the Hive ecosystem, right? We were always thinking, Splinterlands is going to bring people into this, or GLS was, soccer fans, 100 million soccer fans are going to come in and start playing Splinterlands. That was never going to be the case. But now I'm actually starting to think of Hive as a full-on gaming platform that can be competitive. And again, I still have some gripes with Hive. It's not perfect, but at the end of the day, if Moon Carts does become successful, right, and just is a fun game that people can share with their normie friends, right, their non-crypto friends, and we give these platforms some time, right? I put this on Twitter the other day. I'm now excited to see where GLS and Arcade Colony, and of course Splinterlands, look, excuse me, in a year from now. Because if it's just a matter of adding on games, I mean, I'm hoping we see multiple games added to GLS over the next 12 months or 18 months, right, during this bull run. I'm hoping we see multiple more games aside from Moon Carts added to the Arcade Colony platform. And it's great to see, obviously, Aggie being so bullish and getting out there, really trying to engage the community. We know that he can go set up these partnerships, right? And now there's platforms where, the team itself doesn't have to do all the work. They get other games that have other communities that are able to come in. And so I'm really buying into and believing this, right? And so again, I know I'm feeling rather bullish, and people are going to come in and probably rightfully say, yeah, we've heard this story before. You're definitely right. But that doesn't change the fact that we're now starting to see some of the execution landing, right? Didn't quite see it with GLG, and that was kind of in the middle of a bear market, and obviously the team didn't execute it the way that we were all hoping, right? We were hoping the game would come out before the season, and we were hoping that, it would just be a little bit more than it is. But that doesn't mean that it can't turn around, and obviously the team is working hard to try and add all these things. Aggie is even, working to get more feedback. Shout out to Weirdbeard, who's back, kind of working, I think, within the GLS platform to help get feedback from the rest of the community to see what people want. And I think that's a great role for him, because I've always loved the competitive kind of esports thing. And literally, this is a sports game, right? It's a sports game and a sports platform. So overall, I'm just trying to share with you guys that my mentality is starting to shift a little bit. I'm starting to get a little excited about where these platforms could be, right? Arcade Colony and Invenium specifically, but of course, Splinterlands, right? Splinterlands, I think, will continue to innovate and deliver really cool things. I'm excited for the rank rework. I'm excited for everything else that, Matt has planned with land and all that. And if we do become this sprawling kind of ecosystem of games, which I know it's just 3 platforms, but each of these platforms could have multiple games on them, right? You look at Splinterlands, it has land as considered a game, and of course the TCG, and if we can get Soul Keep at some point in the next 18 months, right? Then you look at these other platforms, you got GLG, but maybe they bring in like a basketball game or American football game or something else, right? Maybe Arcade Colony is able to bring in another kind of like Candy Crush style game, right? All these things make it feel like, okay, once you're on Hive, you get sucked into the ecosystem. You start playing a lot of the other games on there. All right, shout out to D-Crops and Golem Overlord, Rising Star. So it'll be interesting to see how all this stuff starts to play with one another once people come in through one of the different channels. So again, is this going to happen overnight? Probably not, but I do believe personally that we're just in the start of the bull run. The Bitcoin halving has not even happened yet, and it usually tops off over the next 12 to 14 months after 12 to 18 months after the halving, right? So that would be like anytime between April and October of next year. A lot can happen in that time. A lot of failure too, but I'm going to try to be optimistic here. I think we made it through the tougher part of the bear market. I think the team, even, we went through a couple different layoffs for Splinterlands, and now there's been a realignment, but Splinterlands is starting to look good. Arcade Colony is starting to look good. If Aggie shifts what's going on with GLS and can show other sports games out there, Web 2 sports game, like I would love an NBA Jam game, right? It doesn't even need to be like the actual NBA partnership. Just make it with random characters. But if we can get, people dunking from, the half court or whatever, I would love that stuff. And I think it could make the platform just super fun, because we already know that the tokenomics here are the most interesting part for many people, right? The tokenomic structure for Splinterlands, and of course that's going to be translated to GLX and Arcade Colony. But if we can design it in that way, make the earnings worthwhile, and most importantly, I always come back to this, but make the games fun, right? Make the games fun. I think that will be in a good spot. So that's all I have for you guys in this video. Just want to say that I'm starting to feel a little bit bullish on Hive as a platform, and I'm hopeful that, assuming we can stick the landing, the team can stick the landing on all these different platforms, keep providing, keep growing, this could be a very fun place a year from now. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. That is all I have for you guys in this video. Otherwise, I'll catch you all in the next one and see you around the games. All right, take care.